All right, everyone. The Portland riots have become, almost ironic at this point. You've had things like Chaz. They tried to build a garden and failed, and it was the funniest thing ever. You had that one time, like I think it was back in April. Remember when they pulled down that one statue in the immediate wake of the George Floyd thing, and like it fell on one of the Antifa members, and it was like kind of karmic, I suppose. Well, they were attacking statues the other day because statues of white males bother them, and they don't really care what white male it is. So we've seen Thomas Jefferson attacked. We saw TDR removed from the History Museum there in New York City, the order of the city government, because TDR is problematic. The father of progressivism, now totally intolerant because he was kind of vaguely colonialist. Not nearly on the same order as the European leaders that these people often echo, but never mind. But they've been attacking, they toppled a statue of Abraham Lincoln. I'm thinking to myself, Abraham Lincoln noted a fascist. See, they say that their fight is against fascism and systemic racism, and you're toppling the statue of a man who existed long before the modern notion of fascism, number one, who didn't have any similar views other than maybe suspending habeas corpus. They go ahead and defend the CSA on that one. I guess Antifa will be doing that tomorrow. And the great emancipator. Now, I realize that part of that is sort of a civic American illusion. Abe Lincoln emancipated slaves in the southern states in order to get them to fight for the Union. Abe Lincoln did not see black people as equal to himself. He was a member of the society with Henry Clay and many others that believed that black people should be sent back to what he imagined was their homeland. And in some cases, of course, with the establishment of Liberia, you're talking about people from 1,000 miles away that were enslaved, and it was definitely a bit Europeanized in that sense. That being said, nobody in Antifa is aware of these things. Absolutely not. Not a single Antifa member understands history enough to understand the convoluted history behind Abe Lincoln's racial beliefs. And at the end of the day, well, he still freed the slaves. He still freed up, northern manpower in order to fight in part on behalf of people that were being dispossessed of that liberty. Now, it was more about a states' rights versus holding together the Union thing. It was part economic. The North said, why do you even need slaves? Industry is here. You're fucking stupid. It takes 20 slaves to do the work of this one cotton gin. What are you even doing at this point? And they had a different economic view between the North and the South. But again, do you think any Antifa member is aware of that? What about TDR? Yeah, absolutely, he had some xenophobic views by modern standards. He was also an extreme workers' writer, anti-corporate mind, leader of the progressive movement, although actually the bumbling fat dude that came after him was more of a monopoly buster than TDR. Taft, namely. Who, by the way, was he born or was he raised in Vermont? He had connections to Vermont. I can't remember which. I think he was born elsewhere and moved there for a while. Coolidge was born and raised in Vermont, and he was the only true Vermont president. Taft was sort of a bumbler, and TDR literally made him cry on stage because they had been close friends. TDR came back from his hiatus to run against him as an independent, bull moose, progressive. It was funny because he would insult Taft relentlessly, and Taft had to see like one of his best political friends crucifying him for being a bumbler, and apparently would literally cry at times after like seeing TDR's views of him, thus throwing the election, by the way, away from the Republicans in the process. It's very funny. Yeah, he was the original Ross Perot, actually. But TDR was literally a progressive in the Upton Sinclair sort of sense. Passing comprehensive environmental conservationist legislation, workers' rights, safety standards, and so forth. These were things that were championed by a movement that he basically fathered, if not necessarily founded. TDR did that. He was basically, in some respects, had views that are similar to the modern progressive movement, although they've gone off into left field. And this is an example of exactly that. It's come full circle to the point where the progressive 100 years ago is now considered a far-right, reactionary, evil, white supremacist, colonial, bastard, imperialist, fascist by these people. How many of these people could even name one single fact about Theodore Roosevelt? How many of these people could recite a single line of the Gettysburg Address or know anything about the historicity of Abraham Lincoln? They don't even know anything. They just see a white dude who's been enshrined on a pedestal. And I guess once they removed the Lincoln statue, they built their own statue, which they claimed was an elk or something like that. cringiest fucking goddamn thing I've ever seen. Basically, these people are just ignorant. They live in their basement, eating tendies off of their mom's trust fund and drinking soy, that they have their dad open for them, their mom's boyfriend rather, and that's their life. The dregs of society, literally the people that you would least want to lead anything, which explains why their group/non-group claims not to be a group at all and is just an ideology. It's kind of hard to have a central leader when there's no one with any leadership skills in your organization. It's why you fail every time. When the police come in, you people scatter like cockroaches for a reason. That being said, these are a bunch of commies, and it's interesting to see, for political purposes, like the Biden camp won't disavow them. They're afraid of pissing off progressives. The funny thing is, like, I thought progressives weren't communists and shit. I thought they didn't have anything in common. Well, we don't, no, we're not communists or socialists. We're just like social democrats and progressives. We just want people to be free and happy and be able to put food on the table. Well, if you don't have anything in common with these violent miscreants, why don't you fucking disavow them? Every other time Trump is called upon to disavow people that often he's disavowed 5-6 times in the last decade anyway for, he's called upon to do that. Oh, disavow militias, disavow Nazis, disavow white supremacy, disavow the far right, disavow the alt-right, disavow some random person who claims to support you who said something we find unpalatable. Nobody ever asked Biden about his opinions of Antifa. In the one case that he was, and this is why they canceled the second debate, trust me, and are trying to cancel the third, and I bet they'll be successful, because Trump said, hey, will you disavow Antifa communism? Oh, Antifa's not a group, it's an idea. And ideas don't usually pull down statues. Even a strong gust of wind usually doesn't do that. You know how much the bronze statues there probably weigh? I guess I'll have to do some topical repairs to those. They think it's like, you know, people pulling down the Saddam statue. Well, that was very propagandistic too. You remember? Case in point. Remember after the U.S. invaded Iraq? And, you know, Army journos at the time, I believe, were taking footage of them toppling that Saddam statue and beating him with their shoes. And they're like, oh, this huge crowd turned out to topple the statue. And then much later, we got like a much further away shot. A few hundred people. It wasn't a huge crowd of people. It was a small group of people that were assembled for a photo op. It was propaganda. Do you see any similarity with this? Now, ask yourself if there is. That's about all. Peace out.